hand right off the bat to our fabulous, I'll just call them our fighter panelists. All women who are renowned in their fields, all activists, and all women, I think, who feel up about violence in really profound ways to help change our culture. It's a fabulous time for us to be coming together. So we are several months, or we are years after Tarana Burke first used the hashtag #MeToo. We are almost 2 years probably into the super vibrant conversation we're having as a result of #MeToo. We're months after the Kavanaugh hearing. We're days after the revelation by Senator McSally about her own rape in the military, Republicans speaking out. So we're at a time where we can both we're in the fire, as I say, like the kindling is still super hot and our panelists are hot. And we are hot on this topic. And we're at a moment too where we can reflect. We can reflect back to Thomas. We can reflect back to the months that we've had. So it's a perfect day to be with this panel, and really every day is a perfect day to talk about this topic. So our Voice of the Goddess has given you some introductions. I think I might want to just jump right in, if that's okay with you guys, right? Or with you all. So let's start with, you've all spoken out. You've all spoken out as powerful voices about being women in your communities. And you've all spoken out about violence and how that affects women in your communities. Can you talk about what that's like? And if you want, talk about especially what it's like in your respective professions. Talk about what it's like in your intersectional identities.
Since I'm sitting next to you, I'll start. But I think it's an important time to notice that we're still having the conversation. The conversation itself is still robust and vibrant. And I wanted to say that out loud because I think it's important to continue to support and encourage the conversation, because the conversation is what is fundamental to change. Attitudes and prejudices only change when we break them down and we change attitudes associated with them. And we can't do that without minds being changed, without hearts being changed subsequently. So I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to be a part of the conversation with you guys today. Thank you, or with you all today. And I love that we are all doing that. As somebody, I always say that being in the public eye in the way that maybe I am, or somebody who does my job is that I have the same aggravations, frustrations, and joys that anyone else faces in normal life. But they're just exacerbated. It's like living life under a magnifying glass. And some of my issues and some of the issues I face and frustrations I deal with are just exemplified as a result. And so I felt, as somebody in that position and with somebody that has a relative position of power, I felt it incumbent on me to do with that platform that which is good, the best. And I, like many women, one of the frustrations I deal with is the institutionalized patriarchy maintaining and seeking to maintain the status quo at the cost of my voice. Because that's the only payment, really, that's the only price. And the institution itself, not an abuser, not the men or people involved, they're not the issue to me. To me, the issue that needs to be disrupted and broken down is the institution itself, the patriarchy. And I seek to disrupt that. I'm here to break it. And that's my only goal.
Exactly.
I think sort of one of the things that's become increasingly clear in the last couple of years is the amount to which violence exacerbates inequality. How much even people at a very high level, celebrities, high profile actors, extremely famous, very successful women are subject to violence from sexual assault to workplace harassment to just discrimination. And I think that we're beginning to, as a society, a lot of us were very much aware of this before, but we're beginning to connect the dots in how this has affected gender equality. Like this line that we've been fed about how sexism is over, how racism is over, is a lie. And although we've come far in the sense that women have the vote and so on and so forth and can own property, to be fair, big deals, hands up for owning property. But I think that a lot of people were really ignoring how much all of this, like this lack of gender parity, was enforced by literal violence, by men laying claim to women's sexual agency, by laying claim to public space, by laying claim to, in the reaction towards people reporting sexual assault, laying claim to their control over the justice system, laying claim to who has credibility and who does not. And I think the last 2 years have really shown that in stark relief, and a lot of people who just were ignorant are beginning to see that.
I also think that we have made some strides in tearing down certain people who were protected by the system that both of you talked about. I think the evidence was so grotesque and overwhelming and manifold that, we were able to take Harvey Weinstein down, and with him started falling all these other people who were really abusing their power. And for me, if I look at sexual assault or any kind of violence or the threat of violence, the violence and the threat of violence is the main instrument that is used to perpetuate inequality and suppress those that are traditionally always suppressed, minorities, women, and you get this fed to you from the time you're born, day in and day out. And boys get fed different things than when girls get fed. And so unwittingly, we inhale, internalize, absorb, memorize all this code of how to be by people who have made it up centuries ago. And also, for me, I came from an Asian culture where, especially if you were female, you had to be reserved. It was very discouraged to make waves of any way. You had to respect your husband, not only your elders. And, if there was the last roti, then the boy would get it, not the girl, or the bigger piece of chicken, because he needed to be strong. Well, she needs to be strong too. So for me, speaking out about it has just been a product of being so enraged and so in shock that things that I thought were decided for me by my mother's generation and all the sacrifices that women before me have come, I'm realizing, no, they're not actually a done deal. They are something that you have to cultivate and maintain every single day, like a plant that needs watering and care and protection from the wind. Like, this is not just a stone that's just set. And, you learn very early, if you do speak out, I'll wait for the truck. If you do speak out, then you learn very early that that is a bad thing because of the reaction, and so it prevents other people from speaking out. And it's all about questioning authority. It happens to little boys too. Look at the Catholic Church scandal with all the sexual abuse with clergy. It's part and parcel of the same thing. Reproductive rights are a form of subjugation, because if I don't have control and dominion over my own sex and body, what do I have dominion over? And it's a question of power, and those in power who are profiting for it, are scared of any change, are contributing to the collective mechanics of it, this big machine, that I think we have to start looking at this issue from a much broader, higher place and hopefully fix the attitudes that, you know, Amber was talking about, and also the institutions. Like, even the Department of Education is a discriminatory place. We don't think of it that way, but certainly it is, in the way that girls and boys are taught, all the way up to the laws that, or the motions that Betsy DeVos comes up with, you know, to make it harder for victims of sexual assault across campuses all over this country can come out and feel comfortable that their voice is going to be heard. You know, we always talk about ruining that young boy's life. That was a big thing during the Kavanaugh hearings. Like, you're going to ruin his life. No, you're just not going to give him this job or this degree. That's all. You know, what about the girl? You know, what about her academics when she has to take time from studying for her exams to go to court and write a report and convince people that, you know, she really did have this happen and it wasn't because she was too drunk at the keg party?